Hello, this is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And what faves are we talking about? I'm talking about what was an EMI and is now Warner, if it exists on Warner, a twofer featuring symphonies by Havergal Brian. I told you I'd get around to him eventually. I had to. Now, Havergal Brian is a cult composer. He really is. There are some people who just swear by the guy. And I have to say, I have seen the Havergal Brian cult, and it's very scary. I remember, oh so vividly, when the Gothic Symphony was issued on Marco Polo, the beginning of the Naxos complete Havergal Brian Symphony cycle, which is still in the works, I think. It may be very close to finishing it. There are like 32 symphonies, which is pretty extraordinary, although it starts with number 2, which is number 1, which is the Gothic. And the Gothic is like the biggest piece of music ever written that ever gets played. It's bigger than Guru Leader. It's crazy huge. And it's a very truculent, difficult, gnarly piece. And Naxos recorded it, or Marco Polo recorded it, under, I think it was Andre Leonard, with basically the entire population of Bratislava. It was with the Slovak Philharmonic. They did an awfully good job considering how difficult it was. They really did. It wasn't bad at all. It was quite respectable, actually. A little roughly recorded, and there were some moments where some of the players kind of gave up, but still, they got through it, and I have to give them credit. But when that came out, it was so legendary. There had only been like that horrible live Adrian Bolt recording that was unlistenable. There's nothing to compare it to. So, and this was like a digital recording. So, of course, I trucked on up to Tower Records to get my copy on the day that it was released. And the day that it was released, there was this line of people that looked like a cast call for The Name of the Rose. Remember that movie? Remember the thing with the albino monk with flagellating himself in his cell? Well, the albino monk was there. I'm telling you, this was such a weird-looking group of people. They had like hair lips and goiters and they had serious personal hygiene issues and skin diseases, and that was the Havergal Brian cult. It may be that they've cleaned themselves up since then. I don't know. But I just took one look at this and went, maybe I don't want the Gothic Symphony. But no, I got it anyway. I had to hear it. And so, Brian has his fans. But let's be honest between you and me. His style is really gnarly and introverted. And, it started out, rather late romantic and tonal and all that, but then became this sort of, what's the word, aphoristic, short, strange, very, very difficult kind of brass band run amok kind of thing. He wrote this whole swath of, 20 some odd, who knows, basically one movement symphonies. Some of them had a little more. Most of them after he was like 80 or something like that. It's not music for the average normal listener. And I think it has personality in abundance. It has his own style. And sometimes that style is fascinating. So there are wonderful, wonderful works of his, but I am by no means a Havergal Brian universal completist guy. I think you really got to pick and choose because he really had very little criticism. He was a loner and in British musical life, an outsider. And people like that tend to develop their own way of doing things, and they don't give a damn what the rest of the world thinks. And he was one of those. He was an eccentric, if you want to call him that. So what I recommend, if you're going to get into Havergal Brian, there are basically 3 discs. That they're worth having. One of them is on Lyrita, thank you. Lyrita, Symphonies 6 and 16, which are just splendid works and very much worth hearing. And the other is this twofer. This twofer contains, you ready? The overture to The Tinker's Wedding, a comedy overture, which is delightful. Symphony number 31, which is only 13 minutes long and gives you a very good sense of his late style, and you'll know if you can tolerate it or not. Symphony number 7, which is a big 4-movement work that's full of interest and color and brassy stuff going on. And then on the next disc, you get Symphonies 8 and 9. Now, this is 2 discs that were recorded at quite a ways apart. The first disc, that is the Tinker's Wedding, Symphonies 31 and 7, features the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic. They both do, in fact, conducted by Charles Mackerras. And like everything Charles Mackerras did, it's wonderfully musical and makes the best possible case for the works. The next disc, Symphonies 8 and 9, is just fantastic. I think 8 and 9 are probably his 2 best symphonies, or among his, half a dozen best symphonies, and it's conducted by Charles Groves. And it was stunningly well recorded, one of those vintage EMI analog recordings. Oh, God, I wore my LP out over and over. It sounds wonderful. And these are big 1-movement symphonies. The 8th is quite mysterious and enigmatic and sphinx-like. The 9th is rather jolly and colorful and fun to listen to. It has this fantastic ending. Oh my goodness, with bells going off and organ pedals and chiming, and it's just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So when I listen to Havergal Brian for pleasure, not out of professional obligation, which happens as often as not, this is just a smashing twofer. It really is. So again, it's Symphonies 7 and 31 with Mackerras and the Tinker's Wedding Overture, and Symphonies 8 and 9 with Charles Groves, both with the Royal Liverpool Philharmonic. And I think if you get these and you enjoy them, and there's no reason not to. I mean, they're quirky. They're very, very quirky, but they're very approachable and fascinating timbrally and just wonderful to follow. So if you get these and you enjoy them, then you can explore at your leisure and just sort of figure out what else you might like. I mean, there's tons of music by him and some big, huge, crazy, long operas and all kinds of eccentric stuff. And we really are only just getting to know him. And there is a lot of magnificent stuff that was composed before his very late and more obscure period. And we still don't know it. He's still not being given a lot of attention in top-notch performances, first quality performances, but these are. And he deserves it, and he needs it, because the music is difficult. It needs to be performed extremely well with tremendous verve and clarity, and that's what you get here. So if you're looking for Havergal Brian, do what I do. Just pull this out, and you will be extremely happy to make his acquaintance. I am really sure. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.